African outlook, UK Minister defends aid budget to Uganda. In business, Uganda Revenue Authority looks to regional exports to fill revenue collection gap. In markets, Bank of Uganda provides key lending rates. In the magazine, Tosca Project Fame is searched for East Africa's best. And the most exciting news and stories in the magazine. Get a head start the week ahead. Register for copy of the region's most authoritative business paper from the nearest vendor or supermarkets. Now out on Saturday. The East African Understanding the Region. The St. Mary's College Sumi Old Boys Association, the SMART cover, informs all members that they will hold their annual reunion dinner and awards night on Friday, 10th of August 2012 at Royal Suits, Lulume. Cards cost 100,000 shillings for singles, 180,000 shillings for couples. For cards and range of corporate packages, please call 0772 922 699 754 411 011. In autumn. Radio 1.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Hello, a very warm welcome. This is
On Spectrum tonight, the latest Ebola outbreak. What challenges does it expose about our handling of health emergencies? Over the weekend, news came in about the outbreak of the deadly Ebola virus, and as it stands now, it has claimed up to 16 people, while several remain hospitalized. Uganda has been affected by Ebola a number of times in the recent past, but prominent of all was the outbreak in northern Uganda, which claimed the lives of several health workers, including Dr. Buikwe, who is now a symbol of resistance against Ebola in Uganda. The latest outbreak in Kibale district was not quickly detected, as residents treated the disease as an act of witchcraft and thus decided to seek traditional solutions, a move that allowed the rapid spread of the disease, which killed several people in a single family. The Ministry of Health has now indicated that the situation is currently under control after receiving help from the World Health Organization and other partners to contain the disease, which is very hard to detect because of its similarities with cholera. Health Minister Dr. Christine Ondoa yesterday told Parliament government has secured enough drugs and protective gear for health workers, and that the Virus Research Institute in Entebbe had been fully equipped to carry out more studies to establish how the Sudan trait of Ebola started off. However, some MPs have raised a number of issues that they say government needs to address urgently in order to equip the healthcare system to handle such disasters, saying there is a lot of laxity, yet Uganda is prone to such outbreaks that need better planning and focus. So tonight we'll look at issues that you would need to know about the deadly Ebola virus, how to avoid it, and what exactly needs to be done to prepare for these kind of challenges. Our guest tonight, Hon Dr Medard Bitekerezo, Mbarara Municipality Mp. He handled Ebola cases while at Mbarara Hospital in the year 2000. He's also a member of the ruling interim party. You're most welcome, Hon Bitekerezo.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Edmond, and good evening, listeners.
We're also joined by Hon Dr Michael Lulume Bayiga, Buikwe West MP, also Buikwe South, pardon me, member of the Health Committee in Parliament. He comes from the Democratic Party. You're most welcome, Hon Lulume.
Yes, good evening, listeners.
Could you give us the latest update on the outbreak, Hon Medard?
Right now, as we talk, we have received actually a press release from the Ministry of Health. It was signed by Dr. Wamafa, who is saying that right now, as we talk, a total of 14 samples. He's saying that yesterday they were picked from patients, but he is talking about 16 people have died of Ebola in Kagadi Hospital. And he's talking about, we have actually, the numbers is not giving them very nicely, but I can tell you that we have people who range in, there are more than 30, I think, right now as we talk. In
you think 30 people have died?
No, 16 people have died. Yes. The 14 died, But now we have, they are talking about 2 more who have died actually.
Yes.
And out of these 4 who have died, they are talking about 1 clinical officer who died in Mulago here, plus even her own child who was 4 months. Which means if by the time you see a disease claiming over 16 people in a month or in a couple of days, it's not a disease to joke about. Now, as we talk right now, there are more than 70 people who are being followed to see whether they are going to fall sick, including health workers and some doctors. Which means right now, you cannot say this is the only number, because even tonight things can go wrong. And you have heard there is also another patient actually who has been admitted in Mbarara Hospital. But I rang Mbarara Hospital. They told me this person was from Isinjiro, and this person has attended a burial in Isinjiro, but in Ntungamo, but he hasn't traveled to places like Kagadi. He hasn't actually, and he has had a chronic cough for some time. As a clinician, I was saying, yes, it could be Ebola, but it is also like cannot be Ebola. It could be another cause of fever and some bleeding, like a gram-negative septicemia, or it could be, I mean, any infection. So for me, I still have a conviction that the problem now is in Chibali. And here in Kampala, where this clinical officer died from, in Mulago Hospital, very many people got into contact with this patient. And I can tell you, if we are not lucky, people are likely to fall sick in Kampala, which means actually we have Ebola in Kampala now, almost. It's in the cooking. So people must be on the alert, as the president said. But, Mr. Edmond, before I talk much, there's something I wanted people to bring about very precisely.
Yes.
The symptoms and signs of Ebola, I want to talk, they are there. But my colleague, Dr. Lulume, I want to tell Ugandans tonight that for those who have refused to listen to the gospel by the sheikhs and the reverends and pastors in Uganda, anybody who is a wonderfully promiscuous man or woman, if you're not serious, you may end up relating sexually with somebody who is incubating the disease. The moment you get into contact with somebody incubating the disease, even if the person has not become properly sick, you will contract that disease and you will perish. So when we talk about contact, forget about shaking hands. We are saying, can you avoid anybody you have found on the road and you end up relating that with that person? For example, I hope those who say themselves, I don't Kampala road speak, they will not kill me tonight when I'm going home. But the whole thing is, people must avoid these relationships as much as possible so that we can have a clean country, because you may end up relating with a patient, cooking this disease.
How does it attack?
One, first of all, this is a virus, and it is a very virulent virus. What do I mean? It attacks very fast, and it kills you very fast, and it multiplies very fast. You first of all, you get Ebola from getting into contact with the reservoirs or the carriers. And the carriers we're talking about, it is believed that Ebola, sometimes you find it in bats.
Yes.
You can find Ebola virus actually in monkeys. You can find the Ebola virus in some other animals. There's one which we're talking about in pigs actually, but not very common here in this Uganda. But ideally, the commonest carriers of the Ebola virus, they are bats. And you know there are bats everywhere. A bat can move from here, it can go to another place. Which means, once these bats shed this Ebola virus, I was talking about the foreign fruits. And the bats eat sometimes they eat fruits, and then some fruits actually fall down, and then some people can get them and eat them. You end up actually eating some infected fruits, and then you end up getting the problem. But by and large, what we want to do right now, it is there in Kagadi Hospital. That is sure deal.
Yes.
People got into contact with patients in Kagadi Hospital. Some have run out of Kagadi Hospital, and you are hearing that now patients are running out of Kagadi. Even those ones actually who have it, who have contacted those patients with the virus, they don't want to be seen. They will keep hiding, because you know when you get it and you just start falling sick, they must isolate you. So that's why we are saying that we must avoid contact with any suspected carriers or patients as
But
much as possible.
You cannot look at somebody and say, now you are suspicious.
And again, Mr. Raymond and listeners, Edmond. I was telling people yesterday. I told the minister on the floor of Parliament that it is very rare to find Dr. Lulume Bayiga coming to the Parliament with Ebola. By the time the man becomes clinically sick, he's going to be down, because we have to think about the symptoms and signs of this disease. One, the patients, when they get Ebola, you begin with something like a flu-like syndrome. No symptom.
The first sign.
You just get some fever, a runny nose, you get some red eyes, you have got some headache, you have got some myalgia, that is painful joints, you have got arthralgia, those are painful joints, painful muscles, that's myalgia. Then you have arthralgia, those are painful joints. And then later on, you may end up actually developing some pharyngitis, that is inflammatory condition of the pharynx inside there, around like a sore throat. You see? And then you may even end up coughing. And then you may end up getting chest pain. Then you end up getting abdominal pain. Then you may end up getting some nausea. Then you can end up getting some vomiting. Then you can end up getting some diarrhea. But later on, you can have what we call a measles-like rash, or you end up getting some small bleeds under your skin, and lastly, you start bleeding. Now, bleeding is a very, very, very poor prognostic feature in Ebola. Once a patient starts bleeding, I'm telling you,
It's the final stage.
that person is almost reaching final stage, and the person will end up dying.
How long does it take for the symptoms to be?
Now, the incubation period of Ebola, some people are talking about 21 days, but when you go to the literature, they talk about 12.7 days with a 4.3 day standard deviation, but it can go as far as even 25 days. But here, on average, we are talking about 21 days of incubation period.
Okay.
So, but you know, we have to think about somebody can even incubate for 12.7, that's approximately 13 days.
Right.
So, for 13
2 weeks.
up to 25, I think we have to think around that line.
To
avoid all doubt.
halfway.
Yes, please.
Honorable Bayiga, where did it come from, this particular strain?
Well, it is somebody else who can be in position to give us good answers about it, especially now that you know that there are flying mammals which could be harboring this disease as an intermediate host, and humans, when they get into contact with these vectors of the virus, then you can contract it. But the commonest way of contracting it now is between humans and human contact. That is why we are talking about even a handshake, because with a handshake you will not avoid fluid, which in itself is a sweat. So if at all we want to avoid a handshake, we cannot really entertain a kiss. We may not be in position. That is deeper. Or sexual intercourse, like my friend was talking about, hugging unnecessary, and so on. So sweat in itself can be a transmitter, saliva, blood, and other fluids, to be in contact with it. Of interest to a scientist would be the distribution of this disease. Having been seen in the northern part of Uganda, in western border, now we are looking at an eastern border, northeast, and then now northwest. Now we are looking at southwest. Those distribution need to be really scrutinized, so that we get the epidemiology of this disease. Of course, this its distribution in the population is very important. Now, the most important question of the time is how to contain the disease, not at the clinical level, where it is very difficult even to predetermine that this is going to be an Ebola case, because the symptoms are similar to those that other people may present with. Everybody can get a flu-like illness. Everybody can get a headache. Everybody can get a fever. As Dr. Bitekerezo has said, by the time you get bleeding under your skin or bleeding through the nostrils and so on, that is the latest stage of the disease. Everybody can get a stomach ache. And what we need, and this is an opener to all health workers for continued medical education. I have been practicing for the last 17 or so years. I have never seen a case of Ebola myself. By the time the outbreak got with us in Gulu, I didn't see it. I didn't see it in my practice. And it is very difficult to recognize that this is going to be an Ebola case.
It's not the kind of thing you would have learned at medical school.
No, it is not a very common disease. These are 2 outbreaks in a spell of time. So you are likely to see, just a minute, you are likely to see a number of health workers falling victims to the disease. You are unlikely to see a doctor or a health worker running away from a patient who has come for medical treatment, because our Hippocratic oath and ethics will dictate that you shouldn't be suspicious per se of the client before you have seen them to alleviate their diseases.
Yes.
That is how the health workers land into this victimization.
Okay.
By the way, I wanted to share with people listening to us. When I was working in Mbarara Hospital, way back in early 2000, when Ebola broke in Mbarara and Gulu, I got this soldier who was actually coming from Congo. And I want people to listen to me. Poor Dr. Bitekerezo, with the love for the patients. Dr. Lulume, I can tell you, one, the gloves in Mbarara Hospital were not many. So we are using gloves very sparingly, because in the moment you start now using gloves on examining anybody that comes with a fever, you run out. You will finish all the gloves within a second. So what we did, I examined this guy without any gloves. I can tell you, I am telling you, I did a full examination of this man who had Ebola unknowingly, because I've never seen it in my life. I opened the eyes, I opened the mouth, I went into the ears, I went everywhere, everywhere I touched. Now, the following morning, what happened? A colleague of mine who was a white person rang me and he said, Dr. Bitekerezo, there is a problem. The man has started bleeding, and I was reading something. This one could be a viral hemorrhagic fever.
So you went to the church?
Not to church. They said they want to send things to enter here, CDC. Samples. And we now that's when we said that I know the guy and began. But we had already become proper contacts.
How did you survive it though?
I can tell you, maybe it was by God's mercy. I can tell you when it happened in Mbarara, every black doctor took off from me. I remained alone with only this white man and another person. There is nobody who could even shake my hand. I was put under house arrest, but again, if you put him under house arrest, who will treat the other guy who was ready? So they said, since this man is going to die, let him remain treating the patients. And I can tell you, Edmond, I agreed. I treated this guy waiting for my death. Good enough, the man died. Good enough, I didn't die, but this man died. When he died, I went with a dead body to bury in Mbarara because I could not take this man where he was coming from. I can tell you, I was stoned in the chest when I was having a dead body on a truck. When they stoned me in the chest, that is when now the policemen had to come in to guard me, and the subsequent people who actually were in Mbarara and who later on died, still I buried them. I can tell you one day that I even dug a grave myself at night.
People had left.
Nobody could even. I can, when you see me here talking in
you can see.
I survived by God's mercy, but again I must tell you, when I finished actually attacking this guy, I washed my hands. And I also have a conviction that possibly the people, you sometimes you have got your own natural immunity.
Yes.
I can tell the listeners that my immunity was very wonderful. It is still wonderful, I can tell you. And I think that possibly my personal defense mechanism inside my body
fought it off.
It fought it off. Otherwise, I touched this man.
Dr. Lulume, we have had a recent influx of refugees. Do you think there could be anything very briefly on that?
Well, it needs to be examined. It is not something that you can take for granted. But it will also depend so much on whether or not they were hospitalized, or whether or not they presented with such symptoms that could be suspicious.
Right.
So things which are scientific, you need a lot of evidence in order to come out with a formulation that people can follow.
All right.
So in respect of the chances that Dr. Bitekerezo had of surviving Ebola, having had the contact with, not everybody will have that chance. Dr. Okuya could have been even having a good immunity. He was able-bodied and he was a hard-working man, and he passed away because of that, and several others.
Yeah.
Not because they had certain counter-current infections also, but that was a chance, a miracle of the nature. Now, what could be the biggest response? And I want to applaud you people of Radio 1, because this is the first talk show that we are attending as members of Parliament in the medical profession, and we can pass on information to the rest of the people. Sometimes you may take it for granted that a handshake is a usual thing, and you end up. Sometimes you may think people are proud and they are not giving you their hands for a shake. Sometimes you may go to hospital and you see a doctor hesitating to make a good examination. Because how do you feel, Edmond, if at all you came to the clinic and in order to examine you, I put on gloves even to feel your temperature, or to examine the abdomen, right. Not to do a rectum examination, but you would feel that this doctor, I think,
is very proud,
is unethical. So these are the things which are likely to take place within our health setting, healthcare delivery system, so that we protect ourselves from this disease here.
Do you think we're doing everything right administratively?
For beginners, those of you who are in the public domain have done a great job, because this should have been a program organized by the Ministry of Health for us to educate the masses. But you are doing it on your own volition, and we must be thankful to you. And should be an eye-opener or ear-opener to the Ministry of Health to organize such programs so that people are educated about the same. For beginners, that is very important. But certainly, our healthcare delivery system is usually caught pants down, especially when such outbreaks come. And it's the only chance that we get in order to expose ourselves of the deficiencies that we have in our healthcare delivery system. For instance, how many health workers are exposed to such continued medical education so that they equip themselves with knowledge about Ebola outbreaks and how they can be handled? Do we have enough laboratory equipment, let alone collection equipment for such body fluids, including blood? Do our health workers know where to take samples just in case? You just imagine you're in Nyamutiwabora, you're in Itoju as a doctor.
Yes.
And somebody makes a presentation. You're going to do a blood slide because there is a microscope there to do a blood slide for malaria parasites. You may do a typhoid test. You may do any other test which is common to the environment. But you may not necessarily think about Ebola. So if at all even you thought about Ebola, you may not even know how to proceed, where to take the samples, and how much it is going to cost you. So you are likely to see a workforce which may recognize a problem, and they may not know how to proceed in order to prevent this outbreak.
By the way, even collecting that sample,
yes,
and transporting. If I had a sample of blood suspected to be having Ebola, and I put it in a simple plastic bottle, and I want to bring it to TV, and you are traveling in a taxi, and they detect that you have got that thing, I can tell you, Dr. Lulume, take it.
Okay, this is this Spectrum listeners on Radio, and tonight the latest Ebola outbreak. What challenges does it expose about a handling of health emergencies? We'll go for a break. When we come back, you will be able to call in and contribute.
Don't worry, sweetie. With Western Union, shopping is done.
What does Christmas mean to you? Is it giving, celebration, or sharing? With Western Union, this Christmas is coming early. Record 3 transactions at the same location, fill in a coupon, and enter a draw to participate in the Western Union Trolley Dash and have a chance to win up to 3 million Uganda shillings in cash. Western Union, moving money for better. This promotion is effective 13th August to 30th September 2012. Funds availability subject to terms and conditions of service, including agent location, hours, and difference in time zones. Western Union makes money from exchange of currencies.
So unbelievable na yatenga vya dala tekibadde ize yajja nakamo bendera waggulu bulaka tuli beautiful Jero waka sana kafenga kasufu ready brotherhood eyatero wetu gata.
To Chakale with Airtel today and celebrate 50 years of independence. Get up to 100% bonus to call across all networks. That's not all. Stand a chance to win a motorbike daily and a car every week. Simply top up every day. Get up to 100% bonus. Dial *162#. Press yes or okay. Start the 50 years independence celebration of Uganda today with Tuchakale from Airtel.
John, Mike and I, we go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else. But he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread. Trust, consistency, quality. Soon people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also helped friends, seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like John, who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special. You've earned it.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight. The latest Ebola outbreak. What challenges does it expose about a handling of health emergencies? Our guest tonight, Hon Dr Medard Bitekerezo, Mbarara Municipality Mp, who handled Ebola cases while at Mbarara Hospital in the year 2000. He's also a member of the ruling NRM party. Hon Dr Lulume Bayiga, Buikwe South MP, member of the Health Committee in Parliament, coming from the Democratic Party. He will be able to contribute to this discussion at some stage. Dr. Medard, what can healthcare systems learn from this kind of? Maybe Dr. Bayiga, you're more into this.
Yes.
Healthcare systems. What can we learn from the outbreak of Ebola?
First of all, we need to appreciate that when Dr. Crispus Kionga was still health minister, that is when they decentralized the healthcare delivery system. So you could see the village health team at the bottom, then you see health center 2, health center 3, with referral mechanisms from the grassroots structure to the topmost structure. Health center 4, the district hospitals, which are general hospitals, then you go to regional referral hospitals, then you go to the national referral hospitals. Now, with that kind of system, you would expect that authority is derived from up, down, but information can also come from down, upwards, if at all the referral mechanism is well in place. Good communication, proper cadreship placement, proper motivation of the cadreship so that they can stay in post and they can monitor what goes on. Information trickling down from various health teams towards the health workers within the hospitals. Then having laboratory facilities, emergency, obstetric care, and so on, ambulance system, and so that would be what would be termed as a functional healthcare system. If it were done and proper investment made, so that at the lower level you can be in position to make investigations and to diagnose, to find out what is the cause of disease, to diagnose the cause of illnesses at that level, then only those difficult cases could be referred up. Today we cannot talk about such a system in Uganda. That is why you see a national referral hospital like Mulago handling those cases which could be handled at healthcare one.
Technically speaking, Mulago should not be able to handle walking people.
Yes.
People refer to it by regional.
That's correct. This is not what we have. And the people in Mulago can pride themselves in presenting big budgets to the health sector committee so that we can give them a lot of money. Yet their mandate is to handle only cases which are referred to it
by regional referral.
Yes, regional referral hospitals. That is the way it should be happening. But today, when they present these budgets, you also sympathize with them because they handle themselves as Health Center 3. That is what they are, the National Referral Hospital. So, if an outbreak happened at the National Referral Hospital, I can assure you, catastrophe. You go to the emergency, what would have been the emergency room, and see a health center 3 in a National Referral Hospital. People lining up from 5 with their children, women and their children. You go and 400 patients lining up for 3 clinical officers. That is the assessment center. Health Center 3 typical, actually worse than Health Center 3 at the National Referral Hospital. And this is in Kampala, where we can criticize, where we can say anything, but what happens at the regional referral hospitals? So the system is clogged with a lot of impurities and it can't work. That is why we are so much afraid of outbreaks of deadly diseases such as this. We are so much afraid about diseases like HIV, tuberculosis, malaria. We are so much afraid about other conditions which are now mushrooming up. Non-communicable diseases which are killing our people. Cancers, heart diseases, tumors and so on. They are killing people left, right and center now because they can no longer be handled at even
the regional level.
Yes, they can't be screened.
But Edmond, there is something I wanted again to share. By the way, when we are talking in this radio, Dr. Bayiga, we are talking as doctors who have some little bit of political characteristics. And now, tonight, we shall talk as specialized doctors. Yes. Because we must, you know, I can tell you, Dr. Lulume, that when you look at the health system in Uganda, they have very wonderful paperwork. I'm telling you, if you see a document from the Ministry of Health, these fellows are very wonderful. They are very clever, remember. The problem is at implementation level. And by the way, I want to tell Ugandans listening that Ugandans have developed, I normally say it, that they have spiritual anaesthesia. To be abnormally insensitive to things that are affecting Ugandans. You know, now I'm very disappointed even with some of our colleagues. Look, in Mulago, which is supposed to be handling very tough cases, you just give them you say, we want you to procure this thing. The president of the country is here in a TV meeting. People are coming to invest over what, doing so many things. Mother is going to Congo. Then the government gives money to Mulago to buy a machine. A person seated in Mulago sits down with the procurement officer. The money brings a half-baked thing. Dr. Let me agree. Remember, there are so many funny things in Mulago, which I don't want actually to release now here, but you know people have been procuring wrong things for too much money. Now, I have a belief that
you're talking about the impact of corruption in the healthcare system.
Fantastic. There is also dangerous corruption in the healthcare system. Even what doesn't exist is eaten. That is what is killing me most. And this one is not eaten by only movement. You know, even by even in DP, there are people who are very corrupt. Because the people in the civil service, you can't know what their political parties, they tend to hide. But I know that some of them, they sympathize with me, who is in the ruling party. They sympathize with Bayiga, who is
the majority are yours.
No, I am telling you, but that's the majority of these guys. They are your supporters, but they are also stealing. You know, the stealing of the killing of the health system is actually done by the civil servants. Actually, have become too tough. But before I even talk about that one, they are giving an excuse that the money they are being paid is very small. But I still have a conviction. When you consider our working ethics as health professionals, you are not supposed to be punishing Edmond when he comes to Marago very sick just because you are not paid too much money. The trading itself, but the bullying you have undergone, it will never accept you.
Well, but the reality of life could make it.
But the only thing we are trying, that's why for me, I am pushing my president. Today you had me on radio here.
Yes.
I was telling in Parliament that how many times have the Health Service Commission seen the president of the country? Can I tell something? They have been writing to the president that they let us not to the big man.
But he's also busy.
You see,
no, there is no way the president of this country can be very busy to avoid the suffering of his people. I can tell it now. If you talk this president about, he was the first person to break these things. He is very caring. I'm telling you, he wants things to be done. But the problem, I think, these things for
let me tell you a little bit, my brother Medard. My brother Medard, let me tell you, for a system to work, you don't need the person of the president, really. And I sympathize with us Ugandans when the president has to appoint presidential advisors on everything, and he ends up not seeing them, and at the end of the day he becomes their advisor. Yeah? So at the end of the day, we should not really push the man too far. He can't be an omnipotent. And however, he's the one who is pleased with people yearning to see him, seeking to be advised instead of advising him. I blame him for that. But our system, we have now been spoiled to think that everything must end with the person of the president. He is not an omnipotent. He needs to be advised.
Yes.
To be sincere with ourselves, why should the Health Service Commission see the president? It doesn't need to see the president. The Health Service Commission just needs to sit down and do its work. Okay. If at all government has failed to see that the importance of investment in health, we are rolling. Members of the opposition sitting with leaders within government to make them realize the importance of investment in health.
You see, now, Mr.
First of all, let's very brief. How protect our medical workers empirically?
You see, they are not protected. By the way, Medard was here and he told you what he had
10 years ago.
That is 10 years ago. The situation is worse.
You're not protected.
The situation is worse. We are in parliament. We appropriate budgets, by the way, and we follow up these budgets to see whether these programs that we have for which we have appropriated have been implemented to the letter. It is not done even with our watchful eyes. So what do you think, if at all we are not even...
The budget has come down a little bit, health budget, from 9 to 8.
It has been registered by to 6%, but they are just saying that it is because the construction has gone low because of Bayiga and the Mbarara. But still, I am still puzzled. Like, if anybody has got a headache in this country,
yes,
you cannot come to work when you have got a headache. The government must invest in the health of its own people, because we believe that when you have got a nation that is actually not having so many disease conditions and people are not sick, or even if they are sick they can get some treatment, I can tell you it is a very wonderful springboard for economic development. But if we do not invest in health in this country, and we train in Mlago, in Mbarara, in Gulu, in Busitema, then after training tomorrow morning you find the people just on bus, Nagana crossing to Rwanda here, which has come out. To me, this one was saying that I want this Health Commission.
Do you know how much would have Ugandans
yes,
are outside this country providing the most experienced health care elsewhere?
I'm telling you, it happens.
Those are the countries to which we refer our clients.
Nairobi, Dr. Lay.
So,
Dr. Lay.
Just a little stimulus in Uganda. We can even make money out of health tourism.
Yes, please.
People can come for treatment here. They will occupy the hotels. Yes.
Dr.
They will spend here.
And Dr.
They will be in our hotels. They will use our medical expertise, and we can learn from them even more. But this strategic investment, this government can't see.
Can I tell you that we have...
That's my frustration.
You know, Dr. Mambo, Tom, and Dr. Omajino here in Mlago, these are boys who can sit down and split a heart. And reply to my friend and this guy. But when you meet them walking on Kampala Street, you may not know that this is...
You may have heard about the story of the intensive care unit.
Yes.
In Mlago Hospital.
Yes.
When we usually compare Rwanda to Uganda, people usually start crying plasma. But Uganda has the least number of beds for intensive care. Look at our population. Rwanda has got over 100 and something intensive care units,
and
which are operational.
They have just about 10 million people.
Uganda.
And Uganda?
10. And of which 3 are functional.
Let's hear from the listeners. This is Spectrum on Radio 1 tonight. The latest Ebola outbreak. What challenges does it expose about our handling of health emergencies? You can call in now. Our numbers 0414-348-111, 0312-260-390, 0312-261-390. When you call in, please tell us your name and where you're calling from. Spectrum, hello?
Hello?
Yes, your name?
I'm Elizabeth. I'm calling from Mutungu.
Yes, Elizabeth.
Spectrum, hello? Hello? Yes, sir, your name? Yes, no. Spectrum, hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, your name? Good evening, your name?
My name is Olga from Buikwe.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Olga. Spectrum, hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir, your name?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, your name?
My name is Kaka. I'm calling from Edmond.
Spectrum, hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, your name?
Yes, thank you for I have to say,
Your name, sir?
as you're aware,
All right, let's have one caller, then we'll get back to the studio. Spectrum, hello? Hello? Yeah, Spectrum, hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. Your name?
Edmond from Kenya.
Yes. Right, let's get back to the studio. Dr. Medard? Yes. I think I would first of all answer the question from somebody who was talking about screening of cancer patients in Mbarara Hospital.
That's true.
I am telling you right now, if I don't know what the Ministry of Health officials think, but for me, I wouldn't advise them to do the screening now. I think Dr. Lulume, you will have, because remember, somebody has already died in Mbarara Hospital.
Of Ebola.
Of Ebola. The clinical officer died. Some doctors have been put in isolation. Yes, they are being followed. I am telling you, there could be some people who got into contact with this person and nobody has seen them. They could have gone. Not necessarily getting into contact with the fluid of that person, because they had also not known that it was real Ebola, you know. So for that matter, I was of the view that since now we have got Ebola, and we have now Kagadi, and we have Mlago, which is also now having a red tape, I think the screening should be halted in the meantime, and then we can do it at a later stage when this disease has actually gone down. I had
lessons from Luwer not going. You don't have to go all the way to Sudan.
Yeah, there is something. There's another point I can tell you. First of all, what happened in Luwer, it was not as tough as the one of Guru and the one of Kagadi. Kagadi, you know, let me say something right now as we talk. People are admitted and 14 people have died. So which means that people who have gotten into contact with these people who have died, they are very many. And even where they came from, remember they left some people. And the people by the way who died, they came from, the biggest number came from one family. So here, I think what is exactly happening is panic is one of the most dangerous things as far as Ebola is concerned. But again, the tiredness of the health workers that are handling these patients can also predispose these health workers to getting contaminated. Because remember that very few people can volunteer. Today, when I was entering the parliament, a very big number of my colleagues were running off from Tinka Simile, Honorable Tinka Simile, that is coming from Kagadi. Then I sat with the Honorable sister. Then somebody whispered to me, said, you man, you are sitting with somebody from your region. Can you imagine? But I said, look here, you cannot run off from your colleagues just in parliament just because of that. But the whole thing is, what happened in Ruero was smaller than what has happened actually where? In Kagadi. The Kagadi one is a very big one. Actually, some people have traveled even from abroad to come to handle this one. What we needed to do is, what we should do right now is, health professionals, what I can just give them, I tell them, I am one of those doctors who touched Ebola patients, and I later on treated them waiting to die, and I didn't die, and I am here as a member of parliament. By the way, this one also worked as in my wonderful campaign in Mbarara Municipality. When I stood, the people, I'm telling you whom I saved from this embarrassment in Mbarara, I got to votes like they were like grasshoppers in my boxes. Yes. And I came here and the was like, how can a physician come to parliament? What I want is very simple. In Kagadi right now, what we need is very simple. We need a very wonderful package of information that we can disseminate to the people. It should be very nicely calculated. But when you make it very political, you can cause people to run out of the hospitals and they will all hide themselves anywhere and you can end up causing a crisis. Right. Point number 2. The health workers must be protected as much as possible to make sure that they just work under very good conditions and they don't end up getting problems and they die like these health workers died. Right. So that you can instill some confidence in them. Okay. 3. Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness. I tell you, this is the testing time for them. They have to allocate money and logistics to use to push everything here, and the neighboring districts, including even every district in Uganda, now that we have it in Uganda, must be on alert. Right now, I am expecting every directorate of health services in each district to be forming some task forces to cater for anybody that starts getting symptoms similar to the ones of Ebola. Our ambulance system, it should be functional. We should be having a very wonderful surveillance system that is working. All these things need money. And by the way, today I am very surprised. We are supposed to be here with somebody from Ministry of Health. And my colleague Kenneth told me that we were called. I first said, which people are we going to be in radio with Dr. Lulume? They told me that they are going to be there with Dr. Lulume, and you are going to be there with somebody from me. I don't know why people don't know how to use chances. You have given us free airtime. I am expecting somebody from the ministry to be here so that we can utilize this airtime and we tell Ugandans on how to protect themselves.
Dr. Lulume, Evelyn wanted to know workplace news. How do you spread it? Kaka from Tsugu said, why do we retire health workers when we still need them? Because they have reached a certain age.
Yeah, those people should be warned. Those who don't value our valued teachers in medicine and surgery and other super specialties, they are warned. and they should know that our regimented system is such that those who mentor us are still useful.
All right, okay.
The most important message that I want to pass is the health-seeking behavior. You know, people want to be sick before they go to hospital.
Yes.
Sometimes they need even to be forced to go to hospital
after they're sick
to consult.
Right.
This is important. Hygiene per se is a very important thing. Dr. Bitekerezo was telling he handled somebody with Ebola but washed his hands very fairly.
Yeah,
maybe that was the first line of defense. So hygiene in per se is very important in our society. We should not continue to educate people to care for their feet so that they don't get jiggers. Reporting cases to authorities, and of course surveillance is very important. But for us in the medical profession, I think I should raise my voice. This is the time to go into continued medical education, CME, so that we can get more and more information about case management of diseases, not only Ebola, and this is the heightened, this should receive a better voice on CME.
All right, we've just been joined by the Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Christine Ondoa. She's on the line right now. Well, we expect her to join us. We'll probably stretch our time a little bit, but we would like to hear from her what the latest position is. Dr. Lulume, in the meantime, continue.
Yes, so it is very important. For us in private practice, we get our own CMEs, but in public, those of the people who have been doing practicing in public practice, they don't usually get CMEs. Yet it should have been an institutionalized and mandatory exercise so that doctors all the time and other health workers continue to educate themselves about occurrence of disease.
Let's hear from the Honorable Minister. Honorable Christine Ondoa, you're welcome to Spectrum. Okay, the line went dead on us. We'll still get her because we'd like to hear what the government has as the latest news and as countermeasures against this outbreak. Oh, yes, Honorable.
Yes, I hope Honorable Christine Ondoa should listen to this. We need CME for those
continuing medical education.
Yes, medical education, so that such things do not really find you by accident, because many of these deaths of health workers can even continue up to today, simply because people may not be in position to protect themselves against diseases which come strangely.
All right, Honorable Ondoa is on the line right now. Good evening, Honorable Christine Ondoa. Hello.
Hello.
You're welcome to Spectrum, madam.
Thank you.
What is the latest news that you can give us so far tonight?
I wanted to contribute.
Please do, madam.
Start with the medical education.
That line is rebelling against us. We'll still get the minister to talk to us here on Spectrum. Continuing medical education, Dr. Lulume.
Yes, it's very important. But usually we undertake it at the level of doctors. Clinical officers need this
as personal
institutionalized, yes, or through their professional organizations. Nurses, particularly, because these are the front line cadres.
Yes.
Because when you make a prescription, when you make an order, it is them who must be the undertakers.
Soldiers.
So if at all they don't protect themselves against certain of these diseases, then they are the first actually to die. Because when the other time we were talking about Dr. Lukuya who died, Dr. Bitekerezo can testify that very many other nurses died.
About 8 of them
before them. Yes.
All right. Honorable Ondoa? Okay, we're still trying to get her once again. We'll continue the discussion meantime.
Yes. So I think that is very important. We cannot afford to lose our health workers. And they can be in position to transmit this information to the rest of the people when they themselves are aware of what is happening. It will be really foolhardy for us to educate the masses without us educating ourselves for beginners.
How about workplace education, Honorable Medard?
Thank you so much. You know what's happening right now? As the minister is going to talk, Dr. Rumi, I can tell you right now.
All right, we have her right now. Honorable Ondoa, you're welcome once again.
Concerning the continuing medical education. Hello?
Please go on, madam.
It's now a policy that continuous medical education for our health professionals, both in the public and also in the private.
All right. Thank you for that. Yes. Thank you for. Yes. Go on. Go on.
Secondly, on the
Madam Minister, perhaps before you go, what can we expect in the days to come? What can we expect in the days to come? Has it been contained or is it still flourishing? And Madam, talking about your enemies, do we know the source? Do we know the origin? Could it have been linked? Could it be linked to the refugee influx?
No.
Okay.
We continue to do investigations and contact search for more information.
All right, Honorable, we would like to go, but maybe we would like to request you to come over the studio and give us more clarity on some of these matters and discuss some of the issues that have been raised by these people, probably. We'll be glad to host you.
I'll be glad to come. When and what time?
Well, somebody will contact you. We could come even tomorrow if you're available, but would like somebody would be in touch with you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. We'll have to end here. Thank you very much, dear guests. Honorable Christine Ondoa appearing at the tail end of the program to give important clarification on the health sector. She's the Minister of Health, Honorable Dr. Christine Ondoa. I must thank our dear guests in the studio as well, both medical doctors, Honorable Dr. Medard Bitekerezo, Mbarara Municipality Mp, who handled Ebola cases in the year 2000 while at Mbarara Hospital. He's also a member of the NRM. Thank you for coming to Spectrum, sir.
Thank you for hosting me.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Lulume Bayiga, Buikwe South MP, member of the Health Committee in Parliament from the Democratic Party. Thank you for coming to Spectrum tonight, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond. So Spectrum will be back tomorrow. Up next is the news in English.
Spectrum on Radio 1.